So in this video, we shall cover one of the topics which is again found from Unit 1 of the Yoga NET syllabus, and that is Yoga in Narada Bhakti Sutras. Now the Bhakti Sutras of Narada are, it's a tiny text which has only 84 sutras. So those of you who are really interested to prepare properly for your exams, you could easily go through the book. I'm sure you'll find it online. Just go through it. In this video, we'll be covering some of the key points that are mentioned in the Narada Bhakti Sutras. So we'll get started. Now, Narada begins his Bhakti Sutras by defining the nature of Bhakti. And he talks about the effect that this Bhakti would have on the person who attains it. So he defines Bhakti as it is of the nature of highest love for this. Now the Sanskrit is Sat Vasmin Parama Prema Rupa. Now the word Narada uses is Asmin. Asmin means this. He says it is of the nature of the highest love for this. Now instead of referring to God as that who is above us or somebody who's in the heavens, Narada uses the term this to denote that he's something very close to us. Now this again is a reference to the fact that it is a commonly held belief in Hindu philosophy that the Lord resides in the heart region. In the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishtaha, which means I reside in all beings in the heart region. In another place, he also says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati. It means the Ishvara resides in all beings. The Lord resides in all beings in their heart region. So this is a commonly held belief in Indian philosophy, and Narada refers to this by using the word Asmin, Sat Vasmin Parama Prema Rupa. It is of the nature of the highest love for this Lord who is very close to us, who is very dear to us. Now, what is the effect that this bhakti has on the person who attains it? Narada says it makes him immortal, perfect, and satisfied forever. A person who attains this bhakti does not feel the need for anything else. He feels completely satisfied. He wants nothing, laments over nothing, hates nothing, delights in nothing, and does not get enthusiastic about anything worldly. Now, this might feel like, the bhakta enters into a state of comatose where he does not react to anything, but that is not the thing. The key word is that he does not get enthusiastic or what the other emotions. He does not express these other emotions regarding anything worldly. The next sutra makes it clear that the state of the bhakta is not a state of dull dormancy or tamas, where he expresses nothing. He's like a stoic philosopher, as in the Western philosophy they say, who does not express anything and is very rigid. The next sutra clearly says it makes him intoxicated, established, and revel in the self. It makes him intoxicated. This bhakti makes him it makes him lose control and get intoxicated. And he also gets established in the self and revels in the self. Now, this is another idea we'll be finding repeatedly, that the bhakta enjoys in his self. Now, this is another manifestation of the fact that he is satisfied in himself. In the first point, he sees that the bhakta is satisfied forever. He is satisfied, so for enjoyment, he requires only his own self. So that is why he enjoys in himself, Atmarati. So that is the effect that bhakti has on the bhakta, the person who gets bhakti. Now, the different definitions of bhakti are also dealt by Narada in the Bhakti Sutras. He mentions the definitions given by 3 other acharyas and then proceeds to give his own definition. Now, he says that he uses the word Parashara, which means the son of, he uses the word Parasharya, which means the son of Parashara, who is none other than Vyasa. So, the definition given by Vyasa is, it is the love of worship and other activities. So, bhakti is to engage in the worship of the Lord and other such activities according to Vyasa. Now, another Rishi called Garga, he defines bhakti as, it is to converse about the stories of the Lord and other things. It is to engage in talk about the God, to discuss his divine attributes, his qualities, his glories. So that is bhakti according to Garga. Next we come to Shandilya. Now Shandilya Bhakti Sutras is another text which deals with Bhakti Yoga. So Shandilya defines bhakti as it is to revel in the self. It is to revel in the self. So bhakti according to Shandilya is to attain a state where we thoroughly enjoy the presence of the self within us. We find that to be sufficient. So that is bhakti according to Shandilya. Then Narada proceeds to give his own definition, and he says it is to offer all the acts to the Lord and to feel the highest sorrow in forgetting him even for a moment. So this is the definition given by Narada. And we can see that Narada's definition, in a sense, is more universal because he does not talk about doing any particular act. He talks about doing any act. Whatever act you do, just surrender it to the Lord. It is to offer all acts. So whatever station of a person might be in his life, whatever work he might be doing, just offering the fruits of that duty to the Lord is bhakti according to Narada, and to feel the highest sorrow in forgetting him even for a moment. So that is the definition given by Narada. These are the different definitions. Narada also talks about the greatness of bhakti, greatness compared to the other three yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Raj Yoga. And Narada states that Bhakti Yoga is better than the other three. Why is it so? Because he says Bhakti is its own fruit. The journey and the destination are one and the same. The reason Narada gives is that Bhakti is its own fruit in the sense that a person who follows Bhakti Yoga is not, he has already attained what he is looking for. Bhakti is both the means and the end. Bhakti is both the journey and the destination. Whereas in the other three yogas, there is always something to which one is progressing. In Karma Yoga, one does selfless actions in order to reach a state where his actions automatically become Nishkama Karma. So there is a journey and a destination. In Jnana Yoga and Raja Yoga, the person engages in a process. In Jnana Yoga, he engages in the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, in contemplation, in order to attain knowledge. So there is a journey and a destination. In Raj Yoga, similarly, the person follows all those steps, the 7 steps, in order to reach the 8th step of Samadhi. There's a journey and a destination. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, once we attain Bhakti, it is both the means and the end. There is no distinction. Bhakti is its own result. It is its own fruit. So in that sense, Narada says Bhakti Yoga is better compared to the other 3 yogas. The other paths are all aimed towards something, whereas Bhakti is its own reward. Bhakti is also easier compared to the other paths because it needs no external proof. Now, in the case of Karma Yoga, one has to constantly need proof as to whether the action he is doing is an action which is actually selfless, whether it's an action which is benefiting others and all that. In Jnana Yoga and Raj Yoga, one again needs proof. One needs to know in Jnana Yoga whether the knowledge he has acquired is correct or not. In Raj Yoga, similarly, one needs to know if he's attained stability in each of those stages. Patanjali mentions about the different obstacles which come. One of the things which can happen is that you could get stuck in a stage and not progress further beyond that. So there are proofs required for the other 3 yogas, whereas in Bhakti Yoga, it requires no external proof because Bhakti is of the nature of experience itself. You are the own proof of Bhakti. The very fact that we can experience it is sufficient proof. So in that sense, Bhakti Yoga is easier compared to the other yogas. Narada discusses the means by which one can develop Bhakti. And what he mentions are by renouncing the objects of the senses and the attachment to them, adoring the Lord constantly, listening and singing about the Lord and his blessed attributes. So these are the different means that Narada prescribes for developing Bhakti. But most importantly, the grace of the great souls and the grace of the Lord are required. So he says that compared to the other 3 means, the main mean is to have the grace of the great souls and the Lord. Narada also mentions that this is something that is not easy to attain, and yet this is the main means for attaining. Now, Narada provides a distinction. He makes a distinction between para bhakti or supreme devotion and apara bhakti or secondary devotion, or if not one, it might not be good to use the word inferior devotion. So maybe you could say secondary devotion. So supreme bhakti, according to Narada, has these qualities, characteristics. He provides 6 characteristics. I have clubbed them to make 3 points. So the first point is that it is beyond the gunas. He says that they are not the result of any of the gunas, even sattva guna. Even bhakti which is motivated by sattva guna too is only apara bhakti. He says that this bhakti is beyond the 3 gunas. It is also beyond the desires, kamana rahitam. It is not that we have a desire, we expect a desire and to be fulfilled by God, and therefore we develop bhakti to it. Swami Vivekananda calls that nothing apart from begging. It is the same as begging, and he says there is nothing devotional about that. So it should not be motivated by any desires. It grows every moment and is unbroken. Now, those of you who are from the commerce stream might be aware of the law of diminishing marginal utility, that the more we experience something, the more we consume an entity, the less satisfaction it gives us. But in the case of para bhakti, Narada says it grows every moment. So it is something which defies the law of diminishing marginal utility. It keeps on growing each moment and is unbroken. It keeps going on. It prolongs over time. It persists over time. It is very subtle and experiential in nature. There's a typo there, and experiential in nature. He says that it's a very subtle thing because not everybody can feel it. It's a very subtle feeling. There are certain emotions that we feel which are very gross, like anger, for example, which is common to most of us. All of us would have felt that. But the true bhakti, the para bhakti, is a subtle emotion which not everybody can feel. And he also says it is experiential in nature. By this he means that bhakti, the para bhakti, is inexpressible. The expression that Narada uses is muka swadanavat. It means it is as if the experience of bhakti is as if is similar to a mute person, a person who can't speak, having expressed something, having tasted something very sweet. Now he knows it is sweet, but he can't express it because he's mute, right? So he says that is how bhakti is. It's very experiential in nature. Anubhava rupam. So this is about supreme devotion. Now apara bhakti, Narada says, can be divided in two ways. The first way is to divide it based on the predominant guna which motivates it. So the first kind is sattvika bhakti, which is loving God in order to know about Him. So the characteristic of sattva is knowledge, right? So when one wishes to know about the Lord out of a sense of curiosity or inquiry, so that is sattvika bhakti. The second one is rajasika bhakti, which is loving God in order to get his desires fulfilled. So this is rajasika bhakti. Now tamasika bhakti is loving and taking the God's name for causing injury to others. Now, I mean, we could arguably say that rajasika bhakti and tamasika bhakti are not bhakti in any sense, but still they are manifestations of bhakti. Now Narada says sattvika obviously is better than rajasika, rajasika is better than tamasika. So that is the hierarchy. The second way of dividing apara bhakti is something which we find in the Bhagavad-Gita, and Narada refers to this. So in Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna says his devotees are of four types. Now the fourth type is jnani, and that is the para bhakta. The other three are classified under apara bhakti, and they are artha bhakta, jignasu bhakta, and artharthi bhakta. Now, who is an Artha Bhakta? An Artha Bhakta is someone who finds life to be full of misery and turns to God in sorrow. Now, an Artha is someone who's experienced life throughout, and in spite of being surrounded by all kinds of pleasurable things and all kinds of luxuries, he still finds them unsatisfactory. He still finds them limited and not worthy of his devotion, not worthy of his love. And in that desperation, he turns to God out of Vairagya. So that is an Artha Bhakta. There is a specific reason why I'm using this definition, and I'll come to that later. The second one is a Jignasu Bhakta, who's the same as a Sattvika Bhakta, who loves God for the sake of knowing Him, Sattvika. The second one is Artharthi, who loves God in order to get his desires fulfilled, which is similar to Rajasika Bhakta. Now, in some explanations of the term Artha Bhakta, you might have seen that an Artha Bhakta is someone who turns to God out of any worldly afflictions. The usual example that is given is Gajendra, the elephant, when his leg was caught by the crocodile, he turned to Lord Narayana and prayed him to come and rescue him. So Anartha is someone who turns to God only when he is in some difficulty. Now that makes it seem like something which is not a great kind of bhakti. Everybody turns to God when they are miserable, right? But I've given this specific reason because Narada mentions that in both the cases, by both cases he means in the division based on the guna and on the division based on Krishna's teachings. In both cases, the preceding ones are better than the succeeding ones, which means Artha Bhakti must be better than Jignasu Bhakti. Jignasu Bhakti must be better than Artharthi Bhakti. So we can clearly make out the distinction between Jignasu and Artharthi and say that obviously, Sattvika Bhakti is better than Rajasika Bhakti. But Artha Bhakti can be better than Sattvika Bhakti only when this definition is applied. To say that an Artha Bhakta is one who turns to God out of pure Vairagya, Para Vairagya, like Gautama Buddha, when he realizes Sarvam Dukkham, that is what instigates Artha Bhakti in one sense. So these are the classifications of Bhakti. Narada also talks about 11 forms of Bhakti. Narada clearly says that there is only one Bhakti, but it manifests in 11 different forms. And these are Gunamahatmya Sakti. Now, Asakti means attachment. And these are 11 different ways in which one could develop attachment to the Lord. Gunamahatmya Sakti means attachment to glorifying the God's qualities. Rupa Sakti is attachment to the Lord's form. Puja Sakti is attachment to the Lord's worship, to engage in puja. Smarana Sakti is attachment to the Lord's remembrance. Some people enjoy remembering about the Lord. So that is Smarana Sakti. Dasya Sakti is attachment to the Lord's service. Lord Hanuman is a good example. He had Dasya Bhava towards Lord Hanuman. Sakhya Sakti is attachment to the Lord's friendship, similar to Arjuna and Krishna. Vatsalya Sakti is attachment to filial love for the Lord. Filial love for the Lord means to have a motherly relationship or a fatherly relationship with the Lord. Yashoda and young Krishna. So that would be Vatsalya Sakti. Kantya Sakti is attachment to wife-like, there's another typo, wife-like love for the Lord. Now, good example would be Radha and Krishna. Atma Nivedana Sakti is attachment to self-surrender to the Lord. Tanmayata Sakti is attachment to being filled by the Lord. And Parama Viraha Sakti is attachment to feeling sorrow on the separation from the Lord. So these are the 11 forms of Bhakti expressed by Narada. So with this, we come to the end of a brief study of the Narada Bhakti Sutras. As I had mentioned earlier, it is a very tiny text. It has only 84 sutras. So those of you who are interested in knowing more about it could read about it from